This is Matt in the ManCave. It's late nights after dark. Guys, today we're going to be in the what? We're going to be in Song of Solomon, chapter 7, verses 10. Listen to this text, okay? I get more questions on the ManCave about sexual issues than any other topic, okay? So what does that tell you? It tells you it's very important to men and women, okay? And no matter what aspect it's dealing with, whether it's pornography, whether it's the marriage bed undefiled, whether it's sex toys, whether it's this over here and positions and, you know what I'm saying? I did this in the past, Matt. Is it sin? I mean, good grief. So with all these questions out there, let's go to the person who created our bodies and who told Adam and Eve, be fruitful and multiply, and see what he says on the subject matter. And again, we're in Song of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 10. Listen to these words. I am my beloved, and his desire is towards me. Come, my beloved, let us go forth into the field. Let us lodge in the villages. It goes on to say, let us get up early to the vineyards. Let us see the vine flourish, whether the tender grapes appear and the pomegranates bud forth, and I will give you there my love. Friends, I like this in Song of Solomon. You know what it is? It's the Shulamite telling Solomon, let's go on a little vacation and let's focus on our lives. Let's focus on us. Let's go spend the night in a hotel. Let's go do something crazy, something we haven't done in a long time. Let's go. When it's talking about pomegranates, when it's talking about going to the vineyard, what it's talking about is a cultivated time, a time set aside for lovemaking, a time set aside for romance, a time set aside for the marriage bed, okay, and that relationship there, okay? So guys, there are so many things that try to rob us, try to steal from us, try to take that which God has blessed in our lives, okay? Meaning this, the marriage. And there's all these things that are always trying to take away from our time together as husband and wife, okay? And the intimacy that is so much needed in daily life. Now watch this, because I have a vast amount of viewers on the ManCave, okay? I have young viewers that are newly married, and here's the thing, I don't have to tell them twice. I mean, listen, I don't have to tell them the importance of sex, okay? They understand the importance of sex, okay? And I had a friend in my life, listen to this, he just got married, he was in his 20s, okay? And it was so funny. He was a virgin when he got married, and so he knew nothing, she knew nothing, okay? But they really weren't clicking in bed. They just were not getting it on, enjoying each other. To her, it was no big deal. To him, he couldn't wait for the next experience, okay? He would do it 10 times a day if he was allowed to, okay? What was going on? He was a lousy lay. You're like, what are you talking about, man? No, I know that's what the world would say, but he hadn't done anything. He hadn't done his due diligence. He hadn't done any research, and I'm not talking about looking at porn. I'm talking about going to godly couples, okay, who have written books, who are Christians, okay, who talk on the subject of intimacy and tell you the different things that you're allowed to do within the marriage bed. Some people just figure it out on their own, but other people, they're just kind of clueless. They're just kind of fumbling through. They think him getting on top of her, and as soon as he's done, it's over, and she's going to be happy, and she's miserable because you've done nothing for her. But oftentimes, you know what I'm saying, this is what's taking place. Men going to marriage ignorantly, okay, because they've never fooled around, and that's a good thing. But on the other hand, guys, there's a little bit involved in it. And here's the thing, reading a godly Christian book, and there's a lot of good authors, and I will list a couple of them that you can look at and read, okay? But it's more than just the man's needs being met. So I started talking to my friend, and we just had a very open conversation, very blunt. What are you doing? Well, I'm looking at her and I'm getting aroused, and then I'm just jumping on top, and a few minutes later it's over. I go, oh, and you think that's satisfying to her? And that's where a lot of guys are that hadn't fooled around prior to marriage. They think that's all there is. Where you have to realize this, guys, your objective, okay, is to make your wife go before you go. Well, Matt, that would take a lot of work. Exactly. Okay, because you could look at a tree and get aroused, okay, but it's not like that. You know, in a lot of these Christian books, they equate a woman okay, to a crock pot that's slow cooking, okay? A man is related to a microwave. So how in the world, okay, do you take a crock pot that takes 6 to 8 hours, okay, and a microwave that's ready in 30 seconds? How do you equate that? The man takes his time. The man does his due diligence. The man reads, okay? The man asks questions. See, it has to be open between servant lovers. What do you enjoy? What am I doing that you enjoy? What are you not liking that I'm doing, okay? Is it all about you? Because oftentimes, I'm telling you, my wife talks to women, and they're saying, he's just awful. I mean, he's just literally awful, and I really don't want to fool around anymore. I just like him as a husband, but I don't want to fool around, and that's not where you want to get. No, if you will meet her emotional needs and meet her physical needs, oftentimes she doesn't even realize she has yet. Friends, a lot of wives haven't experienced ecstasy on the higher levels because you haven't done anything for them. You know what I'm saying? Honestly. What I'm not talking about is sinning against God. But can I share this with you? Oftentimes, okay, parents that were very conservative in nature, Christian parents, they'll shine a negative light, okay, on sex. Friends, I've seen some mothers talk to their daughters as if sex was dirty. You had to do it. It was a chore. You know what I'm saying? At Christmas and birthdays, you give in, but that's all. Friends, that's the wrong attitude, and that is not what God says in His Word, okay? God tells us to delight in it. God doesn't see sex as dirty, intimacy as dirty. He even tells us the marriage bed's undefiled. It's not dirty. God is the one who initiated this program. I mean, you have His stamp of approval. He just says, don't go outside the bounds. And Matt, you're like, Matt, what's outside the bounds? Friends, you already know what's outside the bounds. You really do. Friends, sex was God's idea. If we went to Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 2, it says this, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for my love is better than wine. Look at that. Is that how your wife thinks? That when you kiss her, it's better than wine, it's better than anything else? Is she thinking that about you? When you're loving her, when you're kissing her, when you're caressing her, when you're cherishing her, when you're talking to her, you're acknowledging she's your best friend, she's your helpmate, you're exciting her, when you're doing all these things. I guess what I'm asking you is this, are you completing her? Are the two becoming one? Because that was God's plan. That was the initial plan. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like it just melts the day off. All the things that are bombarding us, all those stresses, all those anxieties, but just for that moment in time, we come together with our wives, okay? And it's just like it just released. There's such a difference after, okay, the aftermath of after we've had intimacy with our spouse, okay, how the man feels. I mean, it really is. It's just like, you know what I'm saying? He has the courage and the power to face another day. But again, sometimes we're so narrow-minded thinking it's all about us. And we haven't done what we can do to be better lovers to our wives. Friends, if your wife isn't going every time, it's on you. Guys, listen to Song of Solomon chapter 5, verse 1. See if this sounds like God is against sex. I have come into my garden, my sister, my spouse. What's the garden? That's the woman's garden. That's what God's saying. That's what the original language is. I have come into my garden, my sister, my spouse. I have gathered my myrrh with my spice. I have eaten my honeycomb with my honey. I have drunk my wine with my milk. Eat, O friends, drink. Yes, drink abundantly, O beloved. See, God is not against this, okay? But He's actually for this because it was a gift from Him. But outside the boundaries of what God says, okay, it becomes a curse. And you're like, what are you talking about? There's many people trying to get their needs met outside of marriage, and then it becomes a curse. God says this through the Apostle Paul, that every sin that we commit, okay, is outside the body, except for that which is sexual sin. When we're trying to get our needs met outside of marriage, okay, it becomes a sin against the inward portion of your organs in your body, okay? So there's a dire warning there, but he's saying that if you don't get your needs met within marriage, that the enemy comes along and you're tempted, okay? Yet if you're not doing your due diligence as men and you know what you're doing, your wife's not going to really be interested in it, okay? And then she's going to be tempted to look at someone else that, friends, you want to close the door on that foolish nonsense immediately. Honestly, I've met many men, okay, that were in great shape when they first got married. I mean, they really were. They were in great shape. Only after 5 years of marriage, they got used to their wife, they got used to sex, and they put on about 40 pounds, okay? Friends, why don't you give your wife the gift of getting in shape, okay? And reading a book or two that is what? Approved by God, meaning this, by Christian authors that talk about the subject and matter of technique in the bedroom. Well, Matt, you know, I kind of have my routine. Could you change your routine up a little bit so you're better in bed? I mean, honestly, you know what the world calls it? It calls you a lousy lay when your wife is just frustrated. I mean, here's the thing. After you're done, is she frustrated? Okay, because, okay, your needs are met, but hers weren't. Focus on her the whole time. Friends, listen. How many men do I know, okay, that are just lacking in this area? They're just lacking. And you're like, well, man, reading a book about this just doesn't sound, kosher. It doesn't sound right. Really? Why? Because someone knows how to do something better than you, and they can shine light in on it and give you a couple pointers that do this and do this and do this and do this. Nice. Let's just go to what? Let's go to the Bible again, okay? Song of Solomon, chapter 4, okay, verse 16. Men, listen very carefully. Awake, O north wind, and come, thou south wind, and blow upon my garden, that its spices thereof may flow out. Let my beloved come into his garden and eat its pleasant fruits. And you're like, well, Matt, can I ask you a question? Yeah. What that verse you just read? What's that talking about? Let's talk about oral sex. Matt, I don't think that's in the Bible. You don't? Well, let's go to chapter 2 of Song of Solomon, verse 3. As the apple tree among the trees of the woods, so is my beloved among the sons. I sat down under his shadow with great delight, and his fruit was sweet to my taste. What is that talking about? It's talking about the Shulamite and Solomon having a real good time enjoying each other, enjoying each other's bodies, and not feeling any guilt about what they're doing because they're married. So, Matt, what are you asking me to do? I'm asking you to invest in your marriage. I'm asking you to have a really frank conversation with your wife and say, what am I doing that you like, and what am I doing that you don't like, and what could I do more of? And speak while you're fooling around. Look at, actually speak and say, that feels good, that doesn't feel good, you know what I'm saying? Men, I want you to put your wives first. Focus on the crock pot, focus on your wife. It takes 20 to 30 minutes for a wife to get what? To that place where you take 30 seconds to get to that place, okay? Put the time in on the front end, okay? And then later on in life, she's not going to be avoiding you and pushing her butt out and laying on her side and not wanting to fool around. But let's go to another topic. Friends, so many women these days have a tainted view of sex because of what they've read, what someone told them. It's this, and it's just not like that. God told what? Adam and Eve, enjoy the garden. Then he said this, enjoy your garden, Adam. That's what he's saying. He's saying be fruitful, multiply, enjoy yourselves, okay? Over the years, okay, people have just thrown all this garbage into the area that God gave as a gift to us, okay? Now watch this. You have legitimate needs and desires, so does your wife. If those aren't met, they're going to be met somewhere. Listen to what I said. You have legitimate needs and desires, wants, okay? Your wife and you have different ones, but you come together and hopefully you can meet each other's needs and wants and desires, okay? But if those things that we need aren't met, oftentimes we are looking outside to get those things met, okay? Whether it's emotional needs or physical needs, okay? A lot of men, they feel justified in looking at garbage because they're lousy in bed. Their wife doesn't want to fool around as much as they do, okay? And in every marriage, you're going to have one person, watch this, you're going to have one person that wants more sex than the other person, okay? What does that mean? It means this, you're servant lovers. You have to go into it together. One person may realize, hey, I probably need to cave in. The other person needs to be patient with the other. You understand? There's always going to be someone who wants more than the other. And friends, it's not always the man. Friends, here in America, we always stereotype that the man wants sex all the time. Friends, that's just not the truth. There's just as many women that want more sex than the man wants, and the man's pooped. What does he have to do? He has to do what God commanded by Paul. You see what I'm saying? Render what is due to his wife, and his wife render what is due to him. But you do it as servant lovers. You do it as what? This is my best friend. They're hurting right now. They're in the mood. You know what I'm saying? I may not be in the mood, but here's the thing. Even if you're not in the mood, watch this very carefully. This is so funny. You know what I'm saying? When a person's not in the mood, it means this. The initial startup isn't there. It really isn't there. They just they could take it or leave it. They could actually go to sleep. They're just not in the mood. But after about 20 minutes of someone doing the right thing to them, they get in the mood quite quickly unless they're just exhausted, okay? That's the truth. Meaning this, at first you're not in the mood and you'd rather pass, okay? One of the two spouses would rather pass, the other one is just dying to fool around, okay? But if that one individual gives access to the other and says, okay, we can fool around, and you know what I call that? I call that mercy sex. when the one person doesn't want to and the other one does. You see what I'm saying? I call it mercy sex. And sometimes, okay, the wife or the husband is just allowing the other one to have sex, okay, and it's just for a release. It's you know what I'm saying? There's three types, okay, of sex that typically take place. And here's the thing. It's sailboat, speedboat, and yacht. And you're like, Matt, what are you talking about? Speedboat is this, okay? Your spouse loves you. They realize you want to fool around. You just need a release. And they let you. They let you just fool around, you know what I'm saying? And it's just for the physical release, okay? Sailboat is this. It's what we typically do. 30 to 45 minutes, maybe hour of lovemaking during the week. You see what I'm saying? It's regular, but then there's that yacht. And some women long for the yacht. That's just hours upon hours of just resting, relaxing, maybe eating cheese, maybe listening to music, maybe candles, maybe a bubble bath, meaning this, it's like an experience. And you don't get it all the time. You might get it once a month. You might be able to do what Solomon did, where he took the Shulamite into the vineyard, into a lodge, and they went camping, and they went to the hotels, they went to the villages, they went shopping together, they had lunch together, they did all these things, and scattered throughout those times were a time of intimacy where they just enjoyed each other. Friends, you need all three of them in life, okay? And if you short any one of those, okay, you're shorting and stealing from your marriage. Now, guys, I want to talk to you about something else that's very, very important, okay? Let's say you've been married 10, 15, 20 years. It's called maintenance sex. And you're like, maintenance sex? Matt, where are you coming up with all this stuff? Listen very carefully, okay? Whatever you do all the time, you kind of get used to. And it just becomes like old hat. It can get that way in the bedroom as well, okay? Look, it can literally get that way in the bedroom, okay? See, oftentimes over the years, once a person's been married an awful long time, it's not exciting as it once was. It's not as powerful as it once was. It's not as enjoyable as it once was. And so it's not wanted as much as it once was, okay? And so when you talk to a young guy who just got married, and the research institute, they ask him a question, how many times do you fool around? He could come out with 10 or 15 a week. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And you're like, fist bump, bro, getting it on. You know what I'm saying? And, but listen, as the marriage starts to mature and you start stacking up the years, okay, sometimes it's not as exciting. Meaning you've done everything that you know how to do. You still like to do it, okay, but you just don't do it as frequently, okay? And that's where the term maintenance sex comes along, because it is important, whether you feel like it or not, to fool around. You don't realize this, but it has so many benefits to your body. As you're experiencing climax, you're releasing chemicals into your system, okay, that actually help you, okay? But again, sometimes we just don't feel like it. We're just so tired, okay? And it's not all that it was cracked up to be. And sometimes because it's not everything it's cracked up to be at one time, we start looking at pornography, or we start looking at another woman, or the woman starts reading novels that are, you know what I'm saying, where she can fill in the blanks. I mean, that novel is there, and it allows the woman to read the novel about Mr. Wonderful, Mr. Perfect, okay? And he has a six-pack, and he's strong, he's considerate. He's meeting her emotional needs. He's listening to everything that she's saying. He considers her valuable. He loves her. He wants to do all these things, but they leave so many blanks in there for the woman who's reading it to fill in the blanks with her desires, okay? And again, so these are real things that are out there, okay, if we don't do what's called sex maintenance within our marriage, meaning this, it's up to us to make it exciting. And you're like, well, Matt, how do we do that? You can read together different things that you haven't done before, haven't even tried before. One of the greatest aphrodisiacs is this, getting in shape. You think I'm kidding. People that get in shape automatically boost up those testosterone levels, and it starts creating that desire, okay? Get in shape. Go get a suntan at a suntan place, okay? Do all the things that you know to do. Go for long walks together. Get your cardiovascular up. But one of the things that Solomon is suggesting here that's so powerful is get away together. Just get away together. Now, it's expensive. It's not more expensive than a divorce. It's not more expensive than you losing your spouse. I promise you that. Get away together, okay? Safeguard your marriage. And you're getting away not just for intimacy, but time together as a husband and wife. See, that's what the Shulamite's telling Solomon. Let us go to the vineyard. Let us go to a hotel. Let us go over here. And then she even describes it. She says, you know, when the grapes look like this and when the pomegranate looks like this, which were pictures in the Old Testament times, okay, of when those things were flourishing, when they were blooming, when a woman was desiring sex. That's what it's describing, you know what I'm saying? The pomegranate was considered an aphrodisiac. And so the Shulamite's basically saying this, hey, you know, I know of this hotel. It's a beautiful bed and breakfast. And behind the bed and breakfast is this beautiful vineyard. And those grapes, they're almost mature. They're all juicy and plump, sweet. The pomegranates, they're all over the place. I mean, everything is just alive. You see what I'm saying? You know what Shulamite says? She says this to Solomon, I'm going to show you some new pleasures along with the old pleasures that you like. Meaning there's always these things that we do in the marriage bed that our spouses like. I mean, even the worst of the worst lovers always have something that they can contribute, okay? But the Shulamite says, hey, listen. I know what you like. But I have something in store for you that you've never experienced before. Oh my goodness. See what I'm saying? They're adding unto that relationship. They're adding into that marriage. The husband and wife are both involved in making this area of their life special. Okay? Now, if I was to come to your house, knock, 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 it's Matt in the Man Cave. And a lot of you, if I came over to your house, the first thing you're going to do is grab your 12 gauge and stand in front of your fridge like this, okay, and try to protect your steaks from me. Listen, I can eat hot dogs as well, okay? Now, here's what I would do. I'd go into your bedroom. Let me tell you what I better not see. I better not see your bedroom as a catch-all. What are you talking about? Listen. Is that the environment for love? You got magazines here. You got newspapers here. You got garbage scattered out. You got clothes that you haven't folded. You have a million things that's all thrown into that room. So when the neighbors come over, the Joneses, they can look at your living room and say, oh my goodness, their house is really clean. But friends, the bedroom is the most important room in the entire house. Because that's your room. And that better not be cluttered. That needs to look like an oasis. And you're like, Matt, what are you talking about? Clean it up. Throw out the old bedclothes. Go get some beautiful sheets. Go get some beautiful blankets. Go get some beautiful pillows. I mean, go get some incense. Get some candles. Get some lights going on around there. Get some pictures. Should it look like a catch-all for a garage sale that you're having on a Saturday and a Sunday and it's all leftovers from the weekend before? It shouldn't look like that at all. It should look like a hotel bed and breakfast. And the men that do what I'm talking about to their bedroom and to their bathroom, you wouldn't believe the difference it does in the wife's life because it creates an atmosphere for love. Guys, you want to hear a great story? I read this years and years ago because at the time when I was reading this, I was looking around my bedroom and I had 2 TVs in there. I had some broken stereo equipment. I had garbage all over the place. I had a pile of clothes that needed to be either sewn or a button sewed on. I mean, it was just a catch-all for everything in the entire house. And I read this article about that. And you know what I'm saying? That your room kind of needs to look like a beautiful hotel room, like a bed and breakfast, okay? And I thought to myself, well, you know, I'm going to do this. And so I started clearing out. Guys, I got 12 garbage bags full of garbage out of my room. Now, I'm not talking about like garbage. I'm just talking about things that didn't need to be in there, okay? And I took them to a storage shed, and what did I do? Our sheets, golly, they were great when I was in college, when I was single, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? They were just so terribly nasty. They were clean, but they were old. So I took all those off, you know what I'm saying? I think I went to TJ Maxx or Ross and I got brand new. I got the top of the line sheets. I got the softest blankets. I got a beautiful comforter. I got all these pillows. I got all these candles. And then guess what I did? I went to Sherman-Williams. You know what I'm saying? I'm not pronouncing the name. And I got hot pink paint. And you're like, Matt, you didn't. I painted my entire room. Now, guess what? Okay, we're renting. Hot pink, you know what I'm saying? And then I put red lights going around the entire room. And it was just like, you got to be kidding. And the bathroom was all decked out with these, you know, the tea light candles and all the things that a woman would desire. You know, the bath bombs, everything you could desire was there. Big, thick carpets. You see what I'm saying? It was all there. And my wife at first was like, oh my goodness, what did you do? But she dug it. She really dug it. She really dug it. Friends, you can switch it up. You can change it up. You are in control of this area of your life. And this area of your life needs to be dedicated to God's blessing upon that area of your life. Meaning this, God doesn't have any problem with you doing what you do. Okay? He created sex. He wants you to enjoy sex. He gave you your spouse. Your spouse isn't a maid. She's not a cook. She's your helpmate. She's your lover. And that's a servant lover. Okay? And you're always being considerate of the other person's feelings. One of the guidelines that over all these different Christian books, okay, that I'm reading is, well, Matt, is this allowed, or this allowed, or this allowed, or this allowed? Well, if it's strictly forbidden in Scripture, like pornography, then it's forbidden. But if both of you come up with an idea and you're both agreeable about something different in the marriage bed that you want to incorporate, that you want to try, guys, if you're both agreeing, okay, then you go for it. As long as it's not just strictly forbidden. And God gives us so much freedom in this area. Yet, watch this very carefully. If one of you has a hesitancy about doing something, okay, you need to talk about it, and you don't need to force your opinion. Well, honey, I want to do this. This is gonna be awesome. No. It needs both of you wanting to try it, wanting to experience it, okay? You are in charge of spicing it up. I'm talking to head of household, okay? You're in charge of it, okay? And if you don't, there's a million men that would like to spice it up with your wife. You don't want to even go there, my friend. So guys, if we were to go to chapter 7 of the Song of Solomon, and you read how Solomon describes his wife, he's using the terms of the day of the most excellent and the most beautiful things that were known to man. Now, when he's describing her, those conditions, those terms of how he's describing her, doesn't make any sense to us today, but back then, it made perfect sense. He's talking about his wife being the most beautiful of women. Solomon is talking about her hair, her eyes, her nose, her legs, her thighs. He's talking about this area down here in verse 2. He's talking about all these different things that bring him great pleasure. Even in verse 2, it says this, thy navel is like a rounded goblet which never lacks pleasure. See, guys, this is so important, but most men and most women, they don't see the value of it. The Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 5 says this, do not deprive each other except perhaps by mutual consent and for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer, then come together again so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. So the need is there. God's acknowledging the need through Paul. Paul's just telling you right up front, you know what I'm saying? You're going to be tempted. See, but again, in marriage, one person has more of an appetite for this than the other, okay? But here's the thing, you both are what's called servant lovers, meaning this, I love this person, so I'm caving in, or I understand this person's tired, so I'm going to let that person pass. See, this whole devotion is about one thing, safeguarding your marriage, protecting your marriage, protecting intimacy, protecting the gifts that God has given you within the marriage. That's what it's about. All I'm giving you is a little spiritual guidance, okay, that God's not against you in this area of your life, but there's certain things that He wants to take place, and He wants to bless you, and He wants it real exciting. He absolutely does. He would have never let Song of Solomon reside in His Word, okay, if it wasn't an important thing. You got to see it as God sees it. God's not against you enjoying yourself. He's all for that, okay, but sometimes we have to go a little bit backwards, okay, to find healing, to find forgiveness, to find separation from someone we slept with, okay, and then we got to move forward doing different things and new things and being more understanding and seeing God's plan and purpose in what we're doing. And as we do all these things, guess what? We're going to experience such a freedom and an enjoyment like we've never experienced before. Hey guys, one of the things that I get the most in the emails is this, hey Matt, is this allowed, or this allowed, or this allowed? And most of the things that people are asking, they're allowed. But if you need reassurance, you can go to an app or you can go to their website. It's Got Questions, okay? And it looks like that. Okay, Got Questions Ministries, and what you can do is you can literally type is, does God allow this in marriage? You say, I'm saying, can I do this? What does He think about this? Or what does He think about this? Or this or this? And I mean, it's all there. And 99% of the time, they're listing scripture verse, scripture verse, scripture verse. So it's not some guy just giving you advice, because there's a ton of garbage on the internet of people claiming to be Christians, okay, and they're leading people the wrong way. And again, you can go to that website, Got Questions, and you can put your specific, you know what I'm saying, questions in there about different things that may be going on in your life. Hey guys, I hope this gave you some insight and some directions, maybe gave you a few ideas, okay, and some things that you absolutely need to do. And a little bit of maintenance here is not a bad thing. Clean up the room, get on the treadmill, okay, start talking to your wife, start cherishing your wife, okay, and experience all that God has for you in this life. Hey, this is Matt, late night in the Man Cave, after dark, my friend.